Hello, and welcome to another podcast episode. Today, we're going to talk about Watch What Happens, go through the progression a little bit, and generally talk about how to improvise on the tune. Really, we want to start with the key signature, what type of tune it is, the style that it's played in, maybe some of the history. This tune is generally played in the key of 3 flats, E flat major. It's a tonal tune. We have functional harmony throughout, and it has some interesting shifts that we'll talk about. Also with this tune, we'll generally play in the bossa nova style. So here we begin with E flat major. I'm playing an E flat major 9. And that will serve as the 1 chord. Get the 2 chord, and it's a dominant 7th. Moving to minor. So the 2 chord minor and then a 5. And then going back to the 1 chord. Now it has this interesting shift that occurs, kind of a chromatic passage with the harmony. We have E flat, which we just landed on. We go up a half step, up another half step, and then move back down. And that's really interesting because we use that a little bit later and it goes into a different direction. So we'll get to that as well. So we basically restate this harmony again. So we have the 1 chord, E flat, the 2 with the dominant chord quality, and then we have 2 in minor, and then the 5 going to the 1. So I'll talk about this section again. This time we have E flat, we go up, just like before, go up again to F major, we go up again to G flat, and then we arrive at our destination here on the B section of the 3 chord, but it's a major 7. This shows us how powerful the half step motion can be, and you can apply this to other tunes or when you're improvising to play half steps into chords. So some of the concepts in a composition you can apply to your improvisation or your comping. So we end up on G major 7. Now it's really important to take the chords, the diatonic chords in a key, and then compare them to a chord progression like this one. A couple questions come to mind. Is the root note of the chord inside the key area or diatonic to the key? If it's not, then it's outside and it's maybe borrowed from another key center. But if it is included, we have to ask ourselves another question as well, which is the quality of the chord, being major, dominant, minor, and so on, is that included on that root note in the key that we're on? So we know G is in the key of E flat, but the 3 chord is minor in the key of 3 flats. So here we know that when we play G major, improvising on the E flat diatonic notes is going to sound dissonant and it won't outline the change there. So here we may want to pull from G Ionian. Okay, our chord goes minor, which we would expect in the chord just like we talked about. But it forms a 2-5. We know that C7 occurs in the key of F major, the key of 1 flat. So it's no surprise that we end up going to F major from that particular perspective there, but it is quite different from our original key of 3 flats. Okay, so notice how it goes to minor now, which is in our key of 3 flats. So it's a very clever section of the tune. Works up from the E flat to the G. Goes to minor. Goes to the 2 major. And then the 2 minor. And back to our original key. Okay, so that sets up the C, E flat major 7, so the C section of the tune. And then this 2 chord, maybe we'll expand on this a little bit. This is also a chord quality that's not inside of the key of 3 flats, right? Because it has an A natural. So here we're borrowing, potentially, from the key of the 5, which would be B flat. And I think I mentioned on the last live stream, another nice sound on this is the Lydian dominant, which comes from melodic minor. In this case, C melodic minor would be the parent scale. 2 minor, 5, and to the 1 chord. And then we get into these nice half steps again. And that repeats. So very powerful, the half step, right? You can use it to encircle chords. You can use it to move up chromatically. You can use it to move up and down. In a sense, kind of get away with some things because of the power of that half step. Because many of these chords would be really quite outside sounding, right? So as you work with this tune and other tunes, try to imagine that you're there getting familiar with the progression and able to navigate it, at least to some extent. I oftentimes get the impression that folks are really trying to get somewhere with their progress, and that's understandable. But I'd like to offer you a different perspective on this. So let's say you're playing jazz, and jazz is like this city, and you're trying to get to this city, and you're traveling from far away. Then, in a sense, you're always going to be trying to get there. I would offer you this idea that imagine that you're already at the city, in the city, and you're getting familiar with the genre and the music, and you just get more and more familiar with different directions as you spend more time there. Like in this tune, we try to get from the 5 to the 1. So imagine that, for example, you've lived at this city for a short period of time, and work is the 5 chord, your workplace, and your home is the tonic, right? And you get very familiar with that commute, right? You know that. And then you know there's different ways of getting there. So try to think of these progressions and these tunes as getting to know different directions to go to different places, whether it be a favorite coffee shop or a park or anything like that. We're trying to get more and more familiar with more and more places to go as we spend more time in it. So hopefully this inspires you a little bit. Just try to get very familiar with all of these different progressions and keep working on tunes and find those commonalities and get familiar with some of those little different motions as well, like this half step, right? Like that may be a little bit difficult to improvise on freely, right? All right, everybody, we'll have a great practice session. I plan to put together a melody video on this tune. Please join our email newsletter list where you'll get some free courses and free materials sent to your inbox. And check out fretprints.com. Have a great practice session.